In lesson 7-8, we'll be solving problems using simple interest. Simple interest is a nice thing to learn about and know about because we're dealing with banks. If you want to take out a loan, you're going to owe the bank money. If you are investing or putting money into a savings bank, the bank is actually going to use that money, and so therefore they're going to pay you interest for using your money. So whoever gets the advantage here, whoever gets to use the money, they're the ones that has to pay the interest. So we have this formula, I equals PRT, and we're going to talk about what these letters stand for. The I stands for the interest that you earned or the interest that you owe. The P stands for the principal, which is the amount of money deposited or invested. So let's say that you have $500 and you put it into the bank. Well, that is considered your principal. Okay, that's the amount that you start with. Okay, the R is the rate, and it's always written as a decimal when we're writing it in this equation. So 7% would be 0.07, 5% would be 0.05. T equals time, and time is invested or borrowed in years. It's always critical that you make sure that your T is in years. So sometimes they might say it's per month. You know, it's 7% per month. Well, per month would be divided by 12. Or if it's for 6 months, it'd be 0.5 or something like that. So you have to make sure that your time is in years. So the steps. Okay, the first step is write your rate as a decimal. So like I said, 7% is 0.07. Number 2, make sure the time is in years. So 6 months equals 0.5 years and so on. Then number 3 is solve for the missing variables. So you notice we have 1, 2, 3, 4 variables in this problem. So what that means is they're going to give us 3 of the 4 and we have to solve for the 4th. If they give us P, R, and T, we just multiply them all together and we know I. If they give us I and they leave out T, then we're going to have to multiply P and R and divide both sides because this becomes the coefficient. So we just have to figure out what it is that we're looking for and then solve for it for our answer. All right, so savings. Brandon found a bank offering a certificate of deposit that pays 4% simple interest. He has $1,500 to invest. How much interest will he earn in 3 years? Okay, let's start by writing the formula. Okay, we have I equals PRT. Okay, the interest. We want to know how much interest, so we don't know the interest. So I equals, okay, what is the principal? What's the amount of money we start with? We start with this $1,500, so let's write 1,500, okay? And when you substitute, go ahead and put it in parentheses. Now, we're looking for R, that's our rate, okay? But rate is always written as a decimal. So 4% is going to be written as, move it once, move it twice, we're going to have 0.04. Okay, and then T is time, and time always has to be in years, so this does say 3 years, so then we can just put the number 3 in, and it's fine. Okay, so all we have left to do is go ahead and multiply. So we have 1,500 times 0.04 times 3, and that gives us 180. So what that means is if we put $1,500 in the bank for 3 years and the bank gives us 4% simple interest, at the end of those 4 years, we will not only be able to get our $1,500 out, we will also be able to get out $180 because our money actually made money for us. Now, it's interesting that right now we're talking about simple interest. Okay, there are other kinds of interest, like compound interest. So right now, keep in mind that we're only making interest on our principal, and it's not taking any of the interest and adding it back. So we're not making money on the interest, but we're only making money on our principal. And that's the difference between simple interest and compound interest. We're not going to get into compound, so we don't need to worry about it. It's just this formula here, I equals PRT, we need to be able to use. Okay, for example 2, Brandon found a bank offering a certificate of deposit that pays 4% simple interest. He has $1,500 to invest. So this sounds very similar, but there's a slight change at the end. How much interest will he earn in 30 months? Same formula, I equals PRT. We're looking for the interest, so we leave the I in there. The principal, the same as last problem, is $1,500. The rate, same as last problem, we're going to say 0.04. Okay, now the time is 30 months. We need to get that into years. We cannot put anything in here that's in anything other than years. So we need to take that 30 and we need to divide it by 12. Well, I know that I can make 2 whole years, and because that'd be 24, so 30 minus 24 gives me 6. Okay, and so I would have 6/12 left, and that equals 1/2. So I can just simply say 2.5. So let's put 2.5 in right there. So like in the last problem, we kept it in there for 3 years. In this problem, we're just going to keep it in there for 2.5 years. So let's find out what the interest is going to be. So go ahead and throw the rest of it in your calculator. So we'll do 1,500 times 0.04 times 2.5. And that equals $150, which is less than last time because we're saving it for a half a year less. So that all makes sense. So $150 is how much interest we will have earned after 2.5 years. So you know that if you leave it in for another half year, you're going to get another $30. Okay, for example 3, Laura borrowed $2,000 from her credit union to buy a computer. The interest rate is 9% per year. How much interest will she pay if it takes 8 months to repay the loan? So again, I equals PRT. Always start by writing your formula. Now let's write I equals, the principal is $2,000. The rate is 9%, so let's write 0.09, because if we move it twice, 1, 2, okay, it'd be 0.09. Now the time is 8 months. We need that in years. So let's go 8 over 12, and let's see if we can simplify that. Divide them both by 4, and we end up getting 2/3. Okay, now we don't want to, we're not going to want to estimate this. So if with your calculator, if you do this, it's going to be 0.6 repeating. Okay, so keep that in mind. We want to know how much interest will she pay if it takes 8 months to repay the loan. So let's just go ahead and put a 2/3 in here, and I'll show you how you can use your calculators to do that. You could actually use the ABC button, but my calculator here does not have the ABC button, so I'll show you how you can do it with one of these type of calculators as well. So you take your $2,000 times your 0.09. Okay, now I'm going to hit equals. So that's $180 right now. Now take a look here. You always multiply by the top number and divide by the bottom number. This line right here, that means divide. So multiply by 2. So we're going to say times 2. I can even say equals, and then I'm going to divide by 3. See, now that gives us our 120, and that is the amount of interest that she's going to have to pay. Okay, so if she needs to buy a computer and she needs $2,000, she can borrow the $2,000, but if it takes her 8 months to repay the loan, she's actually going to be paying $2,120 for that computer. So yes, in the store, she's like, okay, $2,000, that's not bad, but you have to factor in how much you're actually paying for that computer, including the interest when you take a loan. So that computer now is not worth $2,000, it's worth $2,120. So it's important to think about those things when you're going to get a loan and you're going to purchase items. All right, so credit cards, Alma charged $30. charge a $30 handbag on her credit card with an interest rate of 8%. How much money will she owe if she has no other charges on the card and she does not pay off the balance at the end of the month? So this is a multi-step problem here, okay? We're going to start with the formula I equals PRT. Okay, we're actually looking for the total. So I'm going to write that over here. First, we need to find out what is the interest, okay? So we're going to say interest equals, the principal is $30. The rate is 0.08, okay? Take that rate, move the decimal twice to the left. Okay, and the time is 1 month, so we're going to say 1/12. Okay, so then with your calculators, let's go ahead and figure this out. We're going to go with 30 times 0.08. I'm going to say equals, and I'm going to do times 1, and then I'm going to divide by 12. So 0.2 is the amount of interest that we'll owe. So we're going to say I equals 0.2. So again, how much money will she owe if she has no other charges on the card and she does not pay off the balance at the end of the month? So she's going to owe more than 20 cents because it says here she does not pay off the balance. So her total is going to be the $30 plus the 20 cents for a grand total of $30.20. So if she decides to buy this bag with her credit card and at the end of the month she doesn't make a payment, well, first of all, the credit card is going to actually charge her a fee for not making a payment, but that's a whole nother story, okay? But bottom line, she's going to owe $30 because that's what the principal was. Then she's going to owe an extra 20 cents because the credit card is actually allowing her to take a mini kind of loan here to be able to purchase that handbag or purchase other things that maybe she doesn't have the cash for. All right, so I threw an extra example in here at the bottom. If Emily invests $4,200 for 3 years and earns $630, what was the simple interest rate? So now we're going to go with I equals PRT. Now we actually know the interest. The interest is $630. The principal is $4,200, and the years are 3 years. But we don't know the rate. Notice I put these out of order, but remember the commutative property says that I could actually say TRP if I wanted, and it all means the same thing. Keep in mind though, I do not want you to switch up the order when you write it originally, because the more you write it in the same order, hopefully the more you will remember it. I equals PRT, I equals PRT, I equals PRT. We should be able to remember that, okay? So now we got to do a little bit of work. There's an extra step here. So I'm going to take my 4,200 times 3. So that gives me 12,600. Okay, so I have 630 equals 12,600 R. Now, how do I solve this? Well, 12,600 is my coefficient, so divide by the coefficient, 12,600. Okay, this cancels. I'm left with R. So I'll jump on your calculator. Let's take this. We go 630 divided by 12,600, and that gives me 0.05. Okay. Now, keep in mind, remember what we said about R. R is always written as a decimal, but really, what do they want? They want to know what is the simple interest rate. Now, that is always given as a percent. So, right now we have a decimal. We need to move it 2 places to the right. So, we're going to have 5% for the interest rate. And that would be my answer. Okay, so this is an example of us not knowing one of these 3 letters, but we know the interest. So again, you're just going to get to that point, you're going to have to divide. We could do the same thing if we're solving for months or if we're solving for principal. As long as they give us 2 of these and this one, we have to know 3 of the 4 letters. If we know 3 of the 4 letters, we can always solve for the 4th one. Be sure to check out your tutors that are online. Also check the step-by-step homework helper for all the odd questions in the book.